Hi everyone, happy Wednesday and happy Wednesday to you from little Mitzi as well. He's still here, he's lovely. I'm loving having some company from little Mitzi. So today he's going to climb onto my lap, I think. Today I'm popping on to chat about how we can harness our fear. So yesterday I talked a little bit about ways that we can minimize it or better manage it in our life, and that's really important if it's getting to the point of being a bit debilitating or disempowering for us. Once we are able to sort of minimize that and manage it a little bit better, so we know that it's still there perhaps, but it's not debilitating anymore, then there's an opportunity for us to actually embrace that fear and allow it to drive us forward and help make us stronger and grow. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that sort of idea today. Um, and just to really remind remind ourselves, remind me, because I forget as well, that fear sometimes is a pointer to us that we're actually on the right track, that we're about to do something that takes us outside of our comfort zone. And if you've had a look at my blog on the O-Shit Zone, which was one of my really early blogs, going outside of our comfort zone, that's where we learn, that's where we grow, that's where we can become more of who we are. So being able to step out there is a really important thing to do, and sometimes our fear lets us know that we're on the path to doing that. So try and remember that if you're feeling a little bit afraid. So I guess really what I'm talking about is becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. Feel that fear, feel it in your belly, feel it flooding through your body, welcome it into your body and allow it to be there and help drive you and help you move forward. And find ways to perhaps face your fear head on. What can you do to challenge yourself? So I'm just looking at my notes around this. Oh, so one thing that really came to mind when I was writing this blog and preparing for this video was the physical challenge. So I've always had a little bit, probably a little bit more than a little bit, of a fear of being in exposed places. So think about perhaps rock climbing or being on an exposed ridge line, something like that. My fear is around, that something will happen, that I'll fall, that I'll hurt myself, that, I might die. So a little bit of catastrophizing going on there at times. So what I did to challenge myself to face my fear was to put myself in situations where I was afraid, but I had to keep going. So I made sure I was safe. I made sure I was with people who knew what they were doing, and I would push myself gently through that fear, taking the time that I needed, stopping to breathe. Breathing was a really big thing that helped me get through and pushing through it. And now what I find is when I'm in exposed places, because I've been doing that for probably 7 or 8 years now, when I'm in exposed places, I still have the fear, but it's nowhere near as strong. And I'm able to put myself in situations where I feel even more exposed than I used to, or where I am objectively more exposed than I could manage before. So using that fear to really drive you and challenge yourself. And what I've found is that finding that strength in being able to do that, finding that courage to move through that fear, has allowed me to harness that courage in other areas of my life as well. And just a little reminder that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing what we need to do or what we want to do anyway in the face of that fear. Get to know your fear. What is your fear really telling you? What is sitting underneath your fear? So maybe sit in meditation or just sit with your fear for a while in a quiet place and really feel into it. What is it that it's trying to tell you? Ask the fear, what is the message that it has for you? What is the gift that it has for you? And what's sitting underneath that fear? Perhaps there's sadness, perhaps there's grief, perhaps there's anger. Perhaps underneath the fear there's a sense of peace, and that when you're able to move through that fear, that's what you'll actually find. So just sit there, sit with your fear for a little while. Allow your fear to remind you of your inner child's sense of curiosity. If you look at a child and you watch them move and you watch them interact in daily life, they're not as afraid of trying new things as we might often be. They're not as afraid of climbing trees. They'll climb much higher relative to their height than we would allow ourselves to. And they do that through curiosity. So harness your curiosity. What can you learn from your fear? Where can you be curious about your fear? What is it that might be a little bit different that your fear is trying to guide you away from? Because fear is trying to keep us safe. What might you be able to allow yourself to be curious about and move towards, move more into that sense of being uncomfortable, being more in our oh shit zone? And the final one is just lean into it. Just lean gently into it. Take one little step into it. And then when you're comfortable with that, take another little step into it. Perhaps you're feeling uncomfortable about a difficult conversation you have to have with your partner or a friend about something that's not right in your relationship. Feel into that. What's the first thing that you can perhaps do to make that situation more comfortable? And that might not involve the other person at all. That might involve journaling about what you're afraid of or what's making you uncomfortable. It might involve speaking it aloud, which is a practice that I do. Journaling doesn't work so well for me. Having a conversation with myself in the mirror works much better for me than journaling. Sorry, Mitzi, aren't you getting enough attention? So just lean into it. Allow your breath to work with you. So if you're taking a little step and you're feeling a little bit more anxious or a little bit more fear, just take a moment to breathe out. Because often when we're feeling afraid, we'll breathe in. So we'll go, so allow yourself to breathe out. Really breathe out. Take a calmer breath in and breathe out as you move into the situation. That's all I have for you today. If you want to recap on any of these, feel free to check out my blog. I'll post the link in the post with this, so it'll be above the video. And reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you how you're going with your fear, how you're able to harness that and help you grow in your life. And I'll be back on Friday with a little meditation around fear. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. Bye-bye.